A sign of the times. A line of the times.
I think there are 1,200 boxes of food on this truck. Since this started, we have served 1.8 million meals in the state of Connecticut.
In Enfield, the Salvation Army and the Department of Agriculture's joint initiative is in action.
The Farmers to Families food box. They contain 5 pounds of dairy, 5 pounds of meat products, and 12 pounds of produce, plus a gallon of milk on the side.
The Farmers to Families food box program is a direct response to the COVID-19 crisis all across Connecticut.
These boxes are funded by the USDA, and actually this is a nationwide program. In Connecticut, we're receiving about 40 trailer loads of food per week.
Major Hartshorn from the Salvation Army says the efforts go beyond the boxes.
I will say that it's not just a box of food. What's behind the box of food is a family staying together, a family having a meal together, keeping a sort of a sense of a calm in the midst of all the other storm out there. Hopefully it's making that kind of a difference for families.
And teamwork in a time of need is what keeps this program on a roll.
None of us can do this alone. It's monumental. We know it. It's not just Connecticut. It's nationwide and worldwide. Working together, we're making a difference.
And Farmers to Family Food Boxes continues their initiative throughout the state through the month of October. If you want to find out more, you should call 211 in Enfield. Jim Altman, Fox 61 News.
Jimmy.